right. So now it is that your girl's recording. Let's go ahead. Let's jump into this next reaction, shall we? Now, Maddie Ball, shout out to you. The entire Young Thug case explained. Now, since that Young Thug has been released from jail, and to be honest with you, this case was. I've said this before that this case was just drawn out. Probably the longest case it is ever happened, just for him to go ahead and just be on probation. I do feel the probation of 10, oh, technically it's like 15, 10 years without being in the metro Atlanta area. He's from Atlanta, you know. Each year he has to go ahead and do like a gun prevention concert. You know, I think some of the stuff is house arrest as well. It's some like some of the rules and regulations to this is kind of stupid. But I had a feeling it was going to probably do that. But a lot of people don't understand what this case is and the YSL and why it is he got arrested in the first place. So without further ado, y'all, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Let's get into this video, y'all.
Just recently, Young Thug accepted a plea deal and went home, putting an end to the nearly 2-year-long trial, the longest criminal trial in Georgia history. Thug was facing a ton of charges that could have put him away for life, but because of a ton of crazy incidents during his court case, he only ended up getting probation. So to understand all of the crazy things that resulted in Thug getting a mistrial, we have to understand the circumstances around his arrest. On May 9th of 2022, Young Thug was arrested.
Oh yeah. The Thug doing a song with Gunna. That's not happening, gang. That's not happening, gang. I thought it was gonna happen too, but that post and delete that Thug did, they confirmed it for me. It's like, ah, shit. I would love for them to make up though. Like, I really do. You know what I mean?
Arrested alongside 27 other people as part of a 56-count indictment. According to Billboard, Thug was hit with charges for allegedly participating in violent street activities and conspiring to violate the RICO Act. He was tied to...
How does a plea deal work? So the prosecutor, I can explain this to you since it is like I was a criminal justice major. The prosecutor, or whatever your charges is, they present to whatever it is that you're being accused of. You're innocent until proven guilty, by the way. The prosecutors will present to the judge a thing, depending on what it is your crimes are that you're being alleged with. To say, hey, listen, you got arrested for this. This is what it is you may get charged with. This is what it is you're facing up with. You can do a plea deal. A plea deal is usually a lot of times it is a bogus sentencing. 9 times out of the 10. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. It is something that's just like ridiculous. Even if it is that you're innocent, just like what it is I said before, innocent until proven guilty. Depending on what the case is itself, because it varies. That is what it is they're charging you with. So it could be something as like, okay, well, if you take this plea deal, you can go to prison for like X amount of years. You get probation for 4 years, 5 years afterwards, and you can get out and all this other stuff. And sometimes it is you can get out of jail or get out of prison on good behavior, depending on how many years it is you already served. But if you say no to the plea deal, that is when you go to trial. And the sentencing is double, if not triple, worse than what the plea deal is. The plea deal is just to say, hey, listen, we can get you out of this. You want to go home? You want to go back to your family? You want to go back to this? You know what I'm saying? Just take this plea deal really fast. Go ahead and do this. Take the plea deal. And then you can able to go on home, you know? Once it is you get sentenced, then you'd probably go to prison. Yeah, you might go to prison, but hey, at least you can able to go. You could be on bond, right? You could spend some temporary time with your family, right? It's usually that. It's a deal to where it is just like you know, you don't have to go ahead and spend the money and the time, the money, the energy in order to like go to a trial with that. Fulton County DA is in trouble herself. Oh yeah. That's another thing. Fulton County's whole judicial system is just garbage. It's very bogus, and I hate to say that because Atlanta is so predominantly black. You would think it is that they would do a little bit more when it comes down to helping us out, but in a lot of ways it is they do a lot more harm with trying to incarcerate African American people, especially beforehand. Like there was people that was getting charged for for like an ounce of weed, getting 25 to life over a fucking ounce, bro. In Atlanta, like that's insane to me. I used to read about so many cases. I'm just like, that's what they're in prison for? Like a little weed? Like, cut it out.
Accusations of murder, assault, gun possession, illegal drug possession, and more around the Atlanta area since 2012. RICO stands for Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations. So basically what racketeering or RICO means is that they thought Thug and his record label collective YSL was an organized crime group and that Young Thug was their leader. Basically,
is it even worth taking depending on your offense? If you have the right attorney, because all it is being an attorney is learning how to argue and to debate your case to where it's in your favor. That's all that it is at the end of the day. But being a prosecutor is a lot of times playing devil's advocate, or an attorney, you know, being a defense attorney or a prosecutor. They're both playing devil's advocate, because either or, regardless of the truth or not, you have to present it in a way of either putting somebody in jail or keeping them out. And I say it's a catch-22 because it could be they either did the crime or they didn't do the crime. But you got to prove in some form of way it is that you are one hell of a good lawyer. And a lot of times people do not have the money to get attorneys like that. Getting an attorney is expensive. Trust me. I have an attorney. I always had an attorney the past 2 years just in case some shit happens. You know what I mean? It's always good to have that within like doing business. But is it worth taking it? Yes and no, depending on what it is you're being charged with. That's the best way it is I can put it.
The RICO Act is a way of like getting people that are connected to crimes, but you don't have much evidence of them actually doing it. At least that's my understanding. I'm not a lawyer, so correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like they were saying that Thug was the boss and the YSL people who may have committed crimes were just following orders or were influenced by him. In song lyrics like, "I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body," and "I told them to shoot 100 rounds," definitely didn't help.
This is another thing it isn't I'm going to say. I've said this before and I'm going to say this again. Rappers, it is that, like, I get it, you rapping about that life and whatnot, but some of the stuff it is y'all rapping about is gonna get y'all in trouble. Some of the stuff it is that like they're gonna try you with, and this is where the whole thing of like the RICO charges came into play, because when you start listening to the lyrics, it's like damn near dry snitching. You know what I'm saying? Self-snitching for right. Like self-snitching is insane. Some stuff it is that you should not be saying, bro. If you don't got yourself a body or a couple, you know what I'm saying? And I can't sit there and say it is as rappers, it's people that's in the military. Because if you've been in the military, it is you got a couple. You got your body list is heavy. Or if you are a regular everyday person that just happened to get away with something like that, shut up. I'm not advocating for it in any form of way, but just stop talking about it. Stop talking about it. Just shut up. Please.
But we'll talk more about lyrics here in a second. Oh, and they were also saying that YSL was affiliated with the Bloods. According to Vulture, the indictment apparently had 182 instances of the collective's participation in gang activity and criminal conspiracies, citing lyrics, social media posts, and clothing or accessories with slime emblazoned on them as evidence. The Atlanta police had been investigating YSL for a while, claiming they had evidence all the way back to 2012. Young Thug himself, though, was personally charged with conspiracy to violate the Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act for an offense dating to January 2013 and criminal street gang activity for an offense dating to May 2018. They were saying that Thug threatened to kill a man at a shopping mall, that he rented a car that was used in the murder of a man in 2015, and that he was trying to distribute meth. So he wasn't actually charged with those last three things that I just said, but because of the RICO Act, they were saying he was connected to him. Some YSL members were hit with a few more charges, like the murder of the man I mentioned earlier, whose name was Donovan Thomas Jr. 5 people, including Yak Gotti, were accused of killing him. 3 people who were allegedly YSL members were accused of trying to murder YFN Lucci, and they were saying that a YSL associate shot at Lil Wayne's tour bus. One of the biggest controversies super early on in this case was the use of Young Thug's song lyrics in the indictment. indictment. They use lyrics like, ask the cops, ask the detectives, they all know the business, ask the cops and the detectives, all the jurisdictions, gave the lawyer close to 2 mil, he handles all the killings, we don't speak about shit on wax, it's all mob business. In response to them using this in the case, Thug said, I always use my music as a form of artistic expression, and now I see that black artists and rappers don't have that freedom. Everybody please sign the Protect Black Art petition and keep praying for us. I love you all. I actually made a whole video about how controversial it is to use rap lyrics in court and different instances that it's been used. It's a very interesting subject, and they actually made this illegal in California. On top of all of that, though, they eventually...
They did make that illegal in California. I wish it is that they would do the same thing within Atlanta. California, Atlanta, New York is probably the worst states gun-wise of any gun charges or anything of like anything related to that. It is, you're screwed because the stipulations against you is so high. It is so high, and even just trying to get like a gun license in New York, coming from somebody that is born and raised in New York, it is impossible. You can't. They don't play around with that. Not in my damn home state. You know, California is another one because of the the 3-strike rule, getting incarcerated for like the littlest charges, or you know what I mean. That technically wasn't it Reagan the one that started it, and then Bill Clinton was the one that is that like really enforced that 3-strike rule. But yeah, the prosecutors in like those 3 states is heavy. You don't want to get in trouble within those 3 states, you know? Aren't Young Thug and Gunna best friends? No. Well, at least not anymore, at least.
We got Gunna, who many of you know is a fellow artist and friend of Young Thug. In the same...
Where can you get your weapons legalized? It depends on your state. It depends on your state. You got to look at the state laws and what they are. Now, some states are a lot more laxed, like Texas, Virginia. I can't think of any others at the top of my head where you can carry a gun. You can carry, like out in Texas, you can carry a gun wherever. You can go to a damn Walmart to go buy ammunition, a whole gun, and everything thing like that. You know. Oh yeah, Florida's another one as well. It depends on your state. It really does. Follow to what the state rules are. What I will say is just make sure it is you do, like, if you are going to get a firearm in some form of way, follow what the state laws are. Be sure it is that you do some type of firearm practicing, defense practicing, and also getting registered. Because if you don't get it registered, you can still go to jail for that. You could still get locked up for not having your shit registered.
Traffic stop where they found the meth and other drugs they believed that Thug wanted to distribute, Gunna was also there. And the police also found a bunch of weapons like an AK-47 and a Glock with a switch, which, if you didn't know, is very illegal. Thug's home was eventually raided and he was denied bail. And after the raid, they tacked on 7 more felonies because they found more guns and drugs. By the end of the year, as many of you probably know, Gunna took a plea deal and was freed, with the rest of his sentence being suspended. Of course, this resulted in a lot of people calling Gunna a rat, to which he said, "Well, I have agreed to always be truthful. I want to make it perfectly clear that I have not made any statements, have not been interviewed, have not cooperated, have not agreed to testify or be a witness for or against any party in the case, and have absolutely no intention of being involved in the trial process anyway." However,
I'm sorry, I know, but this is like, I may have to say this with 6ix9ine too, because the niggas was calling him a rat. I need y'all to very much understand this of like what that's like, to where it is you have your freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do, and then that gets taken away, or that gets threatened within like prosecution, like within law enforcement and everything like that. That's a very serious thing. And once it is you're in prison, there's like, I have correctional officers as uncles. Okay, a couple of them worked within Rikers Island. I'm gonna tell you this as of right now, you couldn't even imagine the unthinkable things it is that they do, even the officers allow to do for an inmate. Inmates can still get murked in there. The levels of protection in the penal system, there is none. They're all you're an inmate at this point. So to them, they think it is like, hey, listen, they ain't got nothing to do with me. The rights for like inmates there is no such things as that. 6ix9ine is already back in jail. Yeah, I heard that. Now, when it comes down to this, I'm not mad at Gunna for taking the plea deal. I'm really not. I'm not. It is what it is. When something like that, like if you seen the level of charges it is like they were facing, you would go ahead and cooperate with the police too. I'm sorry, call it for what it is. Like, oh yeah, that's still snitching. This and this is shit. Tell me to my face it is that I'm gonna be spending at least 25 to life. I'm sorry, I'm taking a plea deal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Call for what it is. What's up, Galaxy? I'm sorry. I'm gonna call for what it is, gang. Like, I know that's against street codes, but at the end of the day, it's like shit. Do you want to be able to sleep in your bed freely, or do you want to sleep in a bed when somebody tells you when to get up, when to shower, when to eat? You gotta get money for your commissary, your books, and all that. You work for the government, then that money don't even go to you once you're an inmate. Let that be very clear. Shit, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it. Have to be done to make it out in another day. Shit. Yup, it was Pookie and Ray Ray over there on my soul. Everything I love, them niggas over there.
Gunna did acknowledge that he could be called to the witness stand by any party, so he would have had to testify truthfully, but he could have also just pleaded the fifth if he didn't want to answer any questions, and it didn't end up mattering as Gunna never had to testify. However, at one point he did acknowledge that YSL was both a music label and a gang, and that he had personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang. So this is how it all began. This all went down before Young Thug's actual trial, but you may be wondering, what evidence do they have on Thug connecting him to all of these crimes apart from the lyrics I mentioned earlier? What even tipped them off in the first place and made them want to start investigating Thug? Well, a lot of that starts with Lil Woody, who was a key figure during this whole trial. Woody, whose real name is Kenneth Copeland, which I thought was funny because there's this crazy preacher dude with the same name, was intended to be one of the star witnesses during the trial. This is because he had been arrested a few times before and wanted to get out of it. The first time was in 2018 when he brought an assault rifle to a gym and left it on the bleachers while he went to play basketball. There was a bunch of people in the gym, including kids.
What do you? Maybe it's just me, but now I'm just trying to figure out, like, what do you need an assault rifle to go shoot some hoops, nigga? Damn. Like, oh my God.
And obviously people ended up calling the police. Then he got arrested again for having a gun on him during a traffic stop, so the police kept interrogating him. And as he was likely trying to get out of potential gun charges, which could have been pretty bad since he is a felon, he started trying to give them information about Young Thug.
Something gonna happen today.
What's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen? Somebody's supposed to get killed tonight.
That's crazy. Damn. All it is that it was needed as right here, it was some food. All you needed was some bribing food, and this nigga was gonna start singing, gang. Hey, I asked y'all this question beforehand. What's the level of food it is gonna take you to snitch? I already told you mine, goddammit. I already told you mine. Shit. You go ahead and put some seafood in front of me, like a nice little big ass ramen bowl, some sushi, a big ass sushi platter at that. Oh yeah, I'll tell you everything it is that you need, gang. Shit. You want to know addresses and everything like that too? Phone numbers? I got you, gang. You want to know where their mama and their grandma live at? Shit.
Who?
2 orders of large Sonic cheese sticks. Nah, that's wow. That's all it takes.
I don't know who.
Dave's hot chicken 3 cup. Damn.
You sit down.
There's so many.
I told you I was enough right there.
What do you say that? But you think about it, people die every day in the city. If you can't be specific so we can do our job and save a life, you can't help yourself unless you say, okay.
I'm just let me tell you something. I've been to the feds.
And what did you tell me about going to the feds?
This is a murder that's about to take place with some very high people. And the stuff that I know right now, you know what I mean, should be able to help me get out of my situation. You know what I mean? I'm not bullshit. You know last information I gave y'all.
Smoothie from Jamba Juice.
I can get the time when they gonna go do it. So y'all can catch me in the act.
I mean, Lucci's locked up.
Shit, I can't.
So how?
She always been tight.
Who?
Kill.
Who's always been tight?
Share kill.
And who?
He's this man. He's the sex with this guy. He won. This is as much as I can say. Cause y'all already tell me.
Wait, you're like, ooh, I'm gonna get lost. You said who's tight with Shell? No, you
your friend's not here, nobody can hear you. Like, your friend's not here. We moved him.
Said, oh, actually, if they gave me a Happy Meal, I would. Nah, you're sick. Give me some Dairy Queen and I got you. Boba tea with the pearls in it. Some funnel cake. I'll send you the list. Food, drink, and vape. Nah, you're wow, bro. You see his legs shaking? Oh, he know he's screwed. Hey, listen. Like I said, bro. Like I said, listen. I got a heavy list. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's some like shrimp egg rolls, strawberry milkshake, shit, Shake Shack, Five Guys, fucking Chipotle, shit. Yeah, you can give me McDonald's. You can give me a double fish fillet meal with some fries and a Coke Zero and a pumpkin pie. Man, I'm singing, bro. Singing. Little Caesar pizza, and I'm singing like the opera in this bit. Stop, bro. Sometimes the toys turn out into collector's items, and I can auction on eBay and buy protection or for whatever. I'm snitching. Easy math.
The personality think that I did tell me anything. He won't.
You said how can tell when someone is being suspicious or lying when incarcerated? Well, first things first, when you're in interrogation rooms, they know how to ask and they know how to gaslight and manipulate you to the point to where it is that you start singing. You know what I mean? Hell yeah! Listen, you give me pumpkin spice, I'm giving you an entire list, bro. An entire list. You give me a large pumpkin spice from Dunkin', shit. I'll tell you everything it is that I know. That shouldn't be all that it takes. Golly, bro, this is so bad. Give me some Panda Express. No, wow, bro. But yes, a lot of times it is with being in the interrogation rooms. Normally it is that they know when it is, like, you know, because when you start really telling the truth, you go into specific detail. You go into some real detail. Now, if you get caught lying, you get a hell of a time, bro. If everything checks out to what it is that like you tell the investigators, they'll let you go. They'll give you immunity, witness protection, all that. You know what I'm saying? Give me beef jerky. I'm snitching like 6ix9ine. Wow.
Him.
Wow.
He want him as bad.
So you're talking about Jeffrey.
So like you heard in that clip, Woody was telling them about a murder plot involving Thug. Woody has also mentioned that he didn't really care for Thug since Thug had mentioned him on a song. On the song Halftime, Young Thug said, "Lil Woody pull up and pop at his noggin." Woody said, "I don't like him rapping about me. Why are you rapping about what I'm doing in the streets? Like, that ain't got nothing to do with you." So yeah, I was mad at him and I was plotting on him. And I want you guys to keep all of this in mind going forward, because this is going to become very important. Because like I said, with all of this information, Woody was supposed to be a key witness in the trial. But the trial itself had some complications from the very beginning. By the time Thug's trial began in November of 2023, they went from 28 defendants down to 6. Basically, a bunch of people either got locked up or took plea deals. The reason it took over a year to start the actual trial for Thug is because potential jurors kept getting out of it by claiming things like they couldn't be impartial or saying that the long trial would halt the requirements of their daily lives. Apparently, thousands of potential jurors had been summoned and dismissed. And this wasn't all that slowed down the trial. Lots of other wacky stuff happened that really caused the trial to take a long time. On January 18th in 2023, the prosecutors accused Thug of taking part in a drug handoff with a co-defendant while in the courtroom. As it turns out, the dude actually did hand Thug some drugs, which is pretty crazy to do while you're both in court on trial as defendants. And after the guy did the handoff with Thug, an officer noticed him hide it under the table, so he took it and it ended up being Percocets. Thug's attorney said he was not involved with the wrongdoing and that the prosecution is trying to punish him for the actions of the co-defendant. His lawyer claimed he did not want, ask for, or conceal the pill, and in fact gave it up as soon as he received it. So Thug didn't end up getting any punishment for this. The co-defendant actually did though, and he had to go to the hospital because he swallowed all of the other contraband he had with him to try and...
Oh.
though, and he had to go to the so Thug didn't end up getting any punishment for this. The co-defendant actually did though, and he had to go to the hospital because he swallowed all of the other contraband he had with him to try and hide it. Then on May 11th of 2023, the court proceedings halted when Thug briefly fell ill. According to his attorney, this was not the first time he was hospitalized, which raised concern for his well-being. His legal team claimed that Thug was suffering from exhaustion due to his environment, saying Mr. Williams is sleep deprived, mandated to wake up on court days between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., and not having more than 5 hours of sleep per night. By the end of the week, Mr. Williams is fighting to pay attention to the goings-on in his case. On November 9th of 2023, Judge Auriel Glanville ruled that song lyrics were allowed to be used in court, which, as I mentioned earlier, was very controversial. The defense argued a ton against the use of lyrics, but Judge Glanville decided in the end that they are not protected by the First Amendment. So this allowed 17 sets of lyrics to be used against Thug and the other co-defendants. Thug's attorney stated, "They're saying that just because he is singing about it, he is now part of a crime." In response to the argument, the judge said, "They're not prosecuting your clients because of the songs they wrote. They're using the songs to prove other things your clients may have been involved in. I don't think it's an attack on free speech." So yeah, basically what this means is that they could submit song lyrics as evidence. Judge Glanville explained that lyrical evidence could still be denied, objected to by the defense, and weighed by the jury appropriately. Then, like I said, the trial actually began on the 27th of November in 2023, almost exactly a year ago. The next day, the first viral moment occurred when Thug's lawyer explained what Thug actually stood for. Brian Steele, one of Young Thug's main defense attorneys, said Thug means truly humble under God. He said Pushin' P means pushing positivity, that YSL was from Yves Saint Laurent, and that slat means slime love all the time. Not gonna lie, after seeing this clip, I think myself and a lot of other people thought Thug was cooked, but as you may know, that didn't end up being the case. The next big moment came when a 911 call from 2013 was played, in which Young Thug was directly named as an alleged gunman in a shooting. On the phone call, a female is heard saying, "They came to my house and told me that the guy who shot somebody's name was Young Thug, whoever that's supposed to be." There was also an alleged co-founder of YSL, Tick and Slug, who testified that YSL started as a music label, but later said that it became a street gang. Throughout this whole trial, there was a bunch of other strange and notable things that made it last much longer than it probably should have. For example, a juror was detained for filming the proceedings. The defense attorney for one of the YSL members was arrested. One of the YSL co-defendants was convicted of murder separate from the YSL trial. A witness admitted to being super high, and a whole bunch of stuff like this.
Can I get the water or something? I'm so high right now, y'all. I'm about to go to sleep on y'all now.
You're openly admit that. You're going to openly admit bro. I knew that this case was laughable, but fuck. Come on. You gonna say that and under oath, bro? You gonna say that in courts? Come on, gang. Come on, bro.
There was even a DA investigator texting one of the female witnesses hitting on her. He said, "Hit me up if you're bored later. We're not gonna talk shop." Like, dude, it was crazy that all of this stuff was going on during his trial. So as you can probably imagine, this case was kind of becoming a disaster. I mean, it had been like 2 years since it actually had began. They had a ton of things that were slowing it down, a bunch of issues, and it didn't really seem like they were getting anywhere. And then everything came crashing down. This is in large part thanks to Woody, because if you remember everything I mentioned about him earlier, the case started to fall apart. See, Woody wasn't really cooperating with the prosecutors, and he was supposed to be one of their main witnesses. And remember how I said he blamed a bunch of stuff on Thug to get out of trouble? Well, he admitted to making all of that up.
So it may seem like I'm trying to help Thug out. I'm not trying to help him out. I don't care nothing about him, what he got going on, nothing. I care about the truth. The truth was, I was going through a phase in my life, and I have put all the blame on him. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he got going on. But y'all got me on the stand, and I'm telling the God honest truth. Leave me out of this. I made all these stories up, put the blame on him to get myself out of the situation because the police told me they want a big fish, and I'm a little fish. They ain't who I want. So when they told me that, my only motive was to convince them that I'm telling the truth about this guy right here, and I'm lying.
He also said, "This is what happened. The police kept locking me up for whatever they could. Every time I come out the door, the police was on me, and they keep bringing up Thug's name. So what I did was, to get him off me, I said, Thug did this, Thug did that, because I knew he didn't do it. He even admitted that he made up fake names about people that he snitched on.
There you're saying that you gave the car to Javante, who gave it to Lil Mike and Quez, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you would agree that detectives Gaither and Dennis are telling you we've never even heard of Lil Mike and Quez, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland, Lil Mike is not a real person, is he?
No.
No.
That was the finesse. You invented a person out of thin air, correct?
Yes.
Quez is not a real person. You invented him out of thin air on the spot, correct?
Yes.
You invented those people to take the heat off of you and put it on fictional characters.
I done told y'all this is what I do.
That's your finesse, right?
Woody started tearing everything apart, and if you've seen any clips of him, you would know that he was not cooperating at all during this trial.
How old are you?
Grown.
Okay, what does grown mean?
I'm an adult.
Okay.
Atlanta's legal system needs an overhaul ASAP.
I think just in general, Atlanta's just government. All of that stuff is just it all needs an overhaul at this point. It's bad. It's bad. As much as it is, I like being in Atlanta. Back in like 2013, 14, going to like the homecomings, getting introduced to Atlanta's atmosphere before all the people started moving in and taking over the houses and stuff. There's too much stuff going on. Their legal government team and system, they need to get it together. It's so bad out there.
And when you say you're an adult, what number in years are you?
I plead the fifth.
Apparently, Woody even said he gave someone the car that was involved in the murder of Donovan Thomas, which would likely mean Thug's in the clear. And after this incident I just showed, he was arrested in contempt of court. Woody had immunity, but part of that deal was that he had to cooperate. However, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, because he admitted he lied later on. Likely because of his lack of compliance though, Judge Glanville had a secret meeting with Woody outside of court. Thug's defense found out about the secret meeting, said it was a violation of their rights, and called for a mistrial. The judge kept asking Brian Steele, Thug's lawyer, how he found out about this, and he didn't want to say how.
Hey, listen, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You got caught. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. How you go sit there and be like, how did you find out this information? Like, bro, don't worry about that. I do this, bro. I do this. Stop. Get up out of here. Yeah, they had to get a whole new judge for this shit, bro.
So the judge had him arrested in contempt of court and was trying to sentence Steele to 10 weekends in prison, to which Steele requested to be put in the same cell as Thug. They did quickly file an appeal so Thug's lawyer didn't have to go to prison, but this whole incident caused the trial to be put on hold back in July 1st of this year. Then on July 15th of 2024, they officially removed Judge Glanville from the case. Another judge was assigned to review the motion and agreed that the secret meeting violated Thug's rights to a fair trial. The outside judge said, this court has no doubt that Judge Glanville can and would continue presiding fairly over this matter if the recusal motions were denied, but the necessity of preserving the public's confidence in the judicial system weighs in favor of excusing Judge Glanville from further handling of this case. Basically, they were saying, like, we think he would still do the right thing, but it doesn't look that good what he did, so he's out of here. 2 days after this, the next judge assigned to the case was recused or taken off because she thought she couldn't be impartial. The third and final judge on this case was Judge Paige Whitaker. With a new judge, Thug and his team tried to get him out on bail again, but luck was not on their side as it was denied. The new judge said, I don't know how I would have decided the bond originally. That's not before me. These are not the kind of changed circumstances required under precedent, so I'm not going to reconsider the bond. His team also requested for a mistrial, and their main argument revolved around the secret meeting that Judge Glanville had with the prosecution and the witness, but the new judge said that the meeting was not enough to declare a mistrial.
What do you mean that's not enough? This is where it is. I'm confused on, because that alone should have been all of the evidence it is that you need for it to be a mistrial. It should have been, honestly, it should have been a mistrial. So I can see why it is Thug's team didn't agree to the, to the probation requirements and stuff, because it's bullshit at the end of the day. I mean, granted, he got out, but it's still that was more than enough. It should have, like, you can't do stuff like that between the jurors, between the judge himself going ahead and tampering and going ahead and just asking him to do the stop. Cut it out.
Instead, she just sent the prosecution team to extra training, which is kind of funny because they probably already knew it was wrong, so that really didn't do much for them. But regardless, following all of this, the trial proceeded pretty much as normal. And this was like this summer, so it took all of this time to get to the final judge. They had all of these problems, and it was just a crazy case. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't fully understand how the legal system works, but I do think it's pretty obvious with how many issues happened, especially on the prosecutor's side of things, and how long the trial was taking, that all seemed to somewhat benefit Thug. I mean, one of the key witnesses, Woody, said he lied about all of it, and the state hardly had much evidence. So when no one else is saying that Thug did these things, other than some people saying that YSL was a gang, there really wasn't much dirt that prosecutors had on young Thug. Plus, the case had been going on for so long that people were getting tired of it. I mean, just recently a jury...
I mean, at this rate, when a case is going on for that long, that means they don't got nothing to stick. That's usually what that means. If a trial is going on for that freaking long and they don't have they don't have like any concrete proof, they didn't really, technically speaking, they didn't really have anything of concrete proof to begin with, besides just raiding his house and seeing the levels of like the firearms and the drugs and stuff like that. But related to all the offenses, they ain't had nothing else that could really stick like that.
Or even tried to get excused because of how long the overall YSL trial was taking. Which brings us to what happened just recently. On November 31st, Young Thug pleaded guilty and accepted a plea deal. He pled guilty to 6 charges. 1 count of participation in criminal street gang activity, 3 counts of violating the Georgia Controlled Substances Act, 1 count of firearm possession during commission of a felony, and 1 count of possession of a machine gun. Thug did want to clarify though that he was not going to plead guilty or admit that he was the leader of a gang, and him and his lawyer made that very clear. Plus, at this point, there are only 2 people left from YSL that are on trial. The terms for this plea deal are pretty strong, but at least he isn't facing a maximum sentence of 120 years in prison anymore. However, his 20-year sentence is backloaded, which means he could get 20 years if he violates his probation, which had a bunch of rules. First of all, his probation is 15 years long. One of the main rules of his probation is that he can't stay in the Atlanta metro area for the next 10 years. He's only allowed to return for family weddings, funerals, and graduations. He also needs to give 4 anti-gang and anti-violence presentations every year to kids in Atlanta, but it could also be a benefit concert instead of a school. Because he's a musician, he is allowed to travel and to keep his passport, but Young Thug isn't allowed to be in contact with gang members or those named in the YSL indictment while on probation. However, the judge made an exception for 2 people. His brother, Quantavious Greer, who is serving a 9.5-year prison sentence after he pled guilty to possessing a firearm on probation in the YSL case, and Gunna, who Thug said he is contractually obligated to work with through the YSL record label. And despite what you may think when you hear the term plea deal, Young Thug does not have to testify about YSL or any of the other ongoing trials. Thug also has to perform 100 hours of community service each year of his probation, which includes the presentations I mentioned earlier. He isn't allowed to use drugs or be near firearms, which is pretty standard, but the judge did make an exception for his security to be allowed to carry guns. Finally, Young Thug is also no longer allowed to promote gang activity, make gang signs, or use gang-related language in any of his music. This is a pretty big one for music fans, especially since it's pretty easy for like a prosecutor to get confused and be like, oh, this could be a gang word or something. But Thug himself did say that he wants to change his subject matter. He said, I understand, rap lyrics. I understand how it could be twisted. I understand what it could do to the mind of people. I understand all that, and I promise you I'm 100% changing that. He said that the trial helped him become more aware of his influence and that he has more to rap about. The judge said, whether it is fake or not, it has tremendous impact on kids and young people who think, this is cool, this is what I want to do. Look at him, he's a millionaire. I can do that by being, a gangster in the streets. And that is not true. If you choose to continue to rap, you need to try to use your influence to let kids know that this is not the way to go. She said he was talented and said he should be more of the solution and less of the problem. So after all of that, Young Thug is free and at home. I did make a post about Young Thug being free, and a lot of the comments were negative because people have this preconception that he 100% killed someone. But clearly the state didn't have nearly enough evidence to connect him to it or suggest that he put out a hit, so he was never convicted. So hopefully this video explained the situation well. cleared
Yeah.
up any misconceptions that anyone may have. And if it did, maybe leave a like or even consider subscribing down below. Other than that, this has been Matty Balls, and I will catch you guys next.
All right. But with all this craziness within the trial, this thing went on for so. This was probably one of the longest trials it is that ever has had. But at least I can say it is, regardless to like the bogus probation rules and regulations. At least it is that Thug is home. So I can say that for the most part. But Matty Balls, shout outs to you. Thank you so much for the video. Shout outs to y'all in the chat. Shout outs to you at home. And I will catch y'all in the next video.